Good morning, wise. Listen, y'all know anytime Coach T is late like this, that means somebody is home, right? Yes, the mister is here. And look, I tried to tiptoe on down here real fast, so I can go ahead and do the video. Hopefully, he don't come down here and interrupt this. So I want to go ahead and start. I'm probably talking a little lower than normal, y'all. I have to act a little different when he here. I gotta be a little bit more reserved, more wifey. Can't be acting all undignified. Listen. Good morning, wives. Good morning. And happy Labor Day weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend. It's crazy that he is here because today I want to talk to the wife who actually is living with their unrepentant, prodigal spouse, husband on the inside. Good morning. I actually want to speak directly to that wife, y'all. I'm still like, listen, it has been a week, okay? I was trying to get me a little extra Z's anyways. Good morning. All right, listen. So I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible, getting my point across to the ladies and reaching the one that needs to reach, hopefully with not being interrupted by the mister. And then I'm gonna let y'all go on about y'all day and enjoy y'all Labor Day weekend. So welcome. Y'all know I have to do my little introduction because I need people to know who Coach T is, so you sign up for a consultation, you can put a face with a name type of thing. So welcome to my page. Welcome all my new followers. Let me get to that part. My name is Coach T, and I am a certified business mental health wife coach. Good morning. And marriage consultant. All right. I coach and teach wives how to prioritize their self-care and basically how to take care of themselves while married to a unhealthy spouse. My area of expertise falls underneath the area of behavioral health, marriage, and faith. All right. I'm more catered towards the wife who is basically in a marriage that the Bible really says is over. I cater and coach the wife who probably is married to the toxic husband. To the husband who has not surrendered completely over to the Lord. I cater and coach the wife who, she feels like the Lord is telling her, to stand for this marriage, even though the marriage just seemed like it's no hope, it's done. I help that wife. And then I also, good morning, coach wives who lack in the area of self-care. The wives who are not prioritizing themselves, not taking care of themselves, not taking care of their mental health, their emotional health, not taking care of themselves physically, not taking care of themselves spiritually. All right. And so I coach her how to take care of herself. And if she's on this standing journey, marital standing journey, I teach her how to stand in a healthy way. A lot of wives who are standing for their marriage don't know that there is a strategy to this stand because the enemy don't want you doing this. The enemy goal is to take you out. His goal is for you to not fulfill this assignment. And so because he is so strongly against the marriages, he is going to do whatever he can. And most of the time, 9 out of 10 times he comes after that wife who God usually has a specific assignment for. He comes after that wife, or goes after that home where God is has planted a specific divine assignment into that wife, and she's not aware of this. She thinking, oh my goodness, my marriage is under fire. Oh my goodness, my husband has lost his mind, not realizing that the reason God has allowed why God has allowed this to take place is because he has a specific assignment for her. And so I just try to get that across to wives. So like I said, usually I speak to wives, a wide ranges of wives, mostly the ones who are staying there and waiting for their husbands to come back home. That's normally, what I come on and talk about. Every now and then I talk briefly about the wife that's actually living on the inside of the home. And so today I want to shift gears and speak to the wives today who are actually living in the home with their prodigal husbands, with their husbands who have not surrendered their life over to Christ. All right, so let me say a quick prayer. Father God, we bless you, we love you, we thank you, Jesus, for your amazing grace and mercy. God, Lord, I pray that you would give me the words to speak to the wife who need to receive this message on today. Lord, help this word to go forth and do not return back void. Lord, help me get your word across to your people on today as we continue to bless you in advance and thank you for your faithfulness, Father God. Lord, I pray that you will cover me even as I bring forth your word. And I pray, God, that you will cover this message in your son Jesus' precious blood. I pray and ask these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. So for the ones, of course, YouTube don't, if you're not on my Instagram page, you wouldn't know this, but yesterday I had shared on my story about my journey for this past week, which have been crazy. All right. But I feel like anytime I have moments like that and weeks like that, I know that God is up to something, and because the warfare comes so strong. So, we are in the beginning month of September. September is that spiritual divine month where things are going to take place spiritually, that people would definitely start to see some changes on their journey if they have been walking on their journey and going forward and listening to the specific instructions of the Lord. They know that this is the month. Good morning. This is the month that spiritual, supernatural things are taking place, and that God is doing something. So the devil is big mad, okay? Granted, he big mad, all right? He big mad. He always come for the ones who knows that we're going to share the word, we're going to share the gospel, we're going to teach the people, we're going to stand, in faith, even when the darts are being thrown at us. We're going to stand in the middle of it. So normally after work, after my sessions and after all my little domestic duties are done, it is really, really easy for Coach T to go to sleep. I don't have no problem laying my head on my pillow, okay? No problem, all right? After I have done my part, my work, or what have you, even my wifey duties, I don't have no problem laying on down and going to sleep. However, this week, I stayed up way past my bedtime. And y'all, listen, if y'all see me grab this phone and walk away, I'm walking away because I don't want that man listening to my conversation, because he think he's slick. And I don't want him listening to what I'm saying to the people. So if that happens, I'm going to take my phone and walk upstairs and get my other phone and go over this with y'all. So that's why I'm whispering for the ones who came on later. Because he's trying to hear me. Oh, God. So, yes. So this past week, I stayed up way past my bedtime. And I've been doing a lot of praying. All right. Usually, when I pray this way, I usually pray in my spiritual language. I used to pray in my language with only me and God. where only God can understand me, and me and God is connected. And so I was doing that a lot this week. And I know anytime without me trying to actually go into prayer and pray, but when it just kind of like come upon me, I know that, it's for a reason. And so, when you pray in that language, you don't know what you're saying. You don't necessarily, know what is being said. You don't know, you don't really know. But every now and then when you pray that way, there are certain words that stand out. And so in between me praying, every time I pray, I would hear the word emergency. And I'm saying to myself, Jesus, come on now. Not this weekend, Lord. Not this week. And so I would pray, and I'll get up and I'll start praying again, and Lord and behold, I hear the word again, emergency. And I'm saying, okay. So on yesterday, after being up all week, way past my bedtime, after, not really, going to bed like my usual, just knowing something was different, but not really sure, transitioning over to a new month, whatever. Yesterday, it started. But technically, it started on Thursday, but yesterday my phone started. And so my phone went to buzzing and ringing and stuff. And I don't put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm probably going to start. But because my oldest son, is not in the home, he lives outside the home, I try to keep my phone on. Okay, my family who is not here with me, they are in Florida, I try to keep my phone on. Now, what can I do for them, with them in Florida, me in Georgia? I don't know. But I just need to have it on just in case. So my phone went to ringing and buzzing. And for an entire day, like it's just going off all day. My phone was buzzing and ringing. And so I definitely won't get into the details just for the sake of the people that was, involved in these conversations. But basically I got a call, saying, start to, pray for a specific thing or whatever, and different things was going on. And so I got that call, and I literally was praying. I started praying from the time I got up to the time I went to work, to the time I left work. I prayed all day. Then I got up, went to work, and left. And in between that, I was checking in, on that person or whatever. Like I said, my car, I said it started on Thursday. My car was acting up on Thursday. It started giving me this, like, boo. Like my AC was like blasting. Like, I keep the AC on, high, because it's real hot here. And so I was coming home and I turned the corner, and all of a sudden my AC felt like it was just like got hot all of a sudden. I'm like, what in the? It was like a quick shift. So I'm like, what in the world is going on with my, with my AC? So I'm checking, I know I know how to check, my antifreeze and, check my oil. I know how to do that kind of stuff because, I don't want to be on nobody's side of the road. So it's certain things I just know how to do. So I came home, I opened up my, my trunk or whatever and checked, and, the antifreeze was full and everything was good. But then when I went back in the car, I checked it showed my battery light. So on Friday, after getting this call, after, praying and doing this, I go check on my my car to get it serviced, see what's going on with my car, and see what's going on or whatever. Like I said, I'm still, feeling the need to pray, or whatever. I did this all the way up. They got my car. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. They tried to charge it. They said I don't need a battery. So I ended up calling my mechanic. Of course, it's the end of the week, so he's shutting down. He's saying that he can't get me in until Tuesday. So now my car off. I can't get my car did or whatever. And it's Labor Day weekend. So by this time, I'm going out. I'm like, let me go ahead and just get some stuff, just in case I can't move around, because I don't know yet that my husband is off this weekend. He don't tells me this stuff. And so I'm like, let me just go ahead and get, some food just in case, get some things, get food for, our son, him, make sure we good, if I have to be in the house or whatever. And so as soon as I get home, my yard man is in the yard. He's cutting the yard. I get home and I try to back in like I normally do, and my car just shut off. Like, you got to be kidding me. Mind you, when I was at the store get my car serviced, I had called my husband and I had asked him, would he be able to come get me or whatever. We ain't gonna even tell you what he said in that area. We gonna even share that, all right? He did not come get me. He did not come get me. So I just took my chances. I'm like, I'm just gonna go ahead and just come on home. Got home, car shut off. So my yard man like, what's going on? Like, why you came back to the car? Whatever. I said, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. The car was giving out. So I set up for a few minutes and I tried to crank it back up again, and then, you know, I backed up or whatever. Of course, by this time, my mechanic reached back out, and he's saying that, you know, it could be the alternator. It could be the alternator or whatever. My car old, so it could be. So now I get the car back then, you know, if I have to call a tow person, let me just, you know, put it in position, or if I have to get it jumped, let me put it in a position where, you know, it'd be easy for you to get it. So I back the car finally in, get in the house or whatever. I come in the house, I explain the story to them, you know, what happened, what's going on. Then after that, I'm going to get situated, I get settled down, and then I got a call from that person. Because I had texted them while I was at the store just to check, you know, see how things was going. Like, you know, everything good, you know, y'all good, whatever. And they was like, you know, we still, you know, they were still waiting or whatever. And so when I got home and everything had happened, I finally got the phone call that, you know, everything was good. So I'm like, whoa, Jesus. I always feel like God allows certain things like that to happen. It was almost like he was using my car situation, you know, the warfare that I was going through. It was like you was not up in the middle of the night just to be up in the middle of the night. You wasn't just up using the word emergency for, you know, the word emergency kept on coming to your spirit for nothing. You wasn't, you know, going through what you was going through. It was, in a sense, sometimes God, he sometimes allow what another person may be going through. He may let you go through it in a different type of way or whatever. And so with my car just kind of like giving out on me, it's like, you know, just giving out. I felt like that was kind of like what he was doing in a sense, kind of like showing me what's going on. And that I was pretty much carrying that burden for them, you know. And so once I got home and, you know, I, you know, checked in or whatever, everything was fine. They finally let me know everything was fine. All right. And so dealing with all that, you ask the question, okay, Coach C, why did you share that story? I share that story because homes are in a state of emergency. All right. There are plenty homes that are in a state of emergency. And if no one is on the throne, or if no one is in place or in position, if no one is not interceding and communicating and hearing from God or praying, we are in trouble. We are in trouble, okay? We are in trouble. Too many homes are running. And they're not no one's in standing in the gap for the marriage. No one is standing in the gap for the family. All right? Someone has to be on the throne. Someone has to be level-headed. I'm telling you, because it's really easy to get off. Someone has to be spiritually mature. Someone has to sacrifice. Someone has to have patience. Someone has to have self-control. Someone has to hold their family up, or the entire house will crash and fall. I think I had shared with y'all a couple of weeks ago, like, I had went on vacation, and I felt like the Lord was really putting me in a position where he was saying, you know, I'm gonna really need you to get, you know, organized. As if I thought I was, you know, already organized, but I guess, you know, I wasn't. But he was like, you know, I need you to get organized. You know, I need you to, you know, be a little bit more strategic, you know, with your praying. You know, you pray for these people on this day. You pray for these people on this day, you know. Really turn up and pray, you know, in these areas for these people on this day. And, you know, I had certain days where I would pray for a group of people, because praying and interceding on behalf of others really is a lot of warfare, and it really can wear a person down, which is why I'm always talking about self-care, y'all. Because when you are praying like that and you're warfaring and you're carrying your family, in a sense, you are really dealing with a lot of warfare. You're really carrying a lot, and it can burden you. So I try to balance mine. And so just hearing from him, and just, you know, him telling me that you need to be more specific with specific people. Like, you know, I pray for my family in Florida on this day, and I pray for my children every day, my children and husband every single day. But I pray specific, you know, for specific, even my clients, you know, I pray for them on, you know, certain days. I have certain days that I pray for certain people. And so he just have made it very clear that it's important that, you know, you make sure that you are organized with that, and that you make sure that you are, you know, more strategic with that. Has God called you to stand in the gap for your marriage? Has he called you to stand in the gap of your marriage? Because if he has, you need to find out why. You need to know why God has called you to this. Because everybody does not necessarily have the call to pray, all right? But if he has called you to this, you need to find out why. Has God called you to stand up and stand up against the enemy and his schemes? Okay? Has he allowed the enemy to come for your family, in your household, in your bloodline, in your marriage? All right? Because if he has, that means God is using you. Why? That means God is using you to be some type of deliverer, rescuer, that person that's going to break whatever need to be broken. He's using you specifically for that reason. All right. And not just for your family, but for other people as well, because you will eventually be witnesses to others. All right. I do not believe everyone who is called to stand is necessarily supposed to be, maybe a wife coach, or maybe, on YouTube, or, whatever. But I do believe there are specific ones that God called to do specific things. Maybe you do hair, or maybe you design clothes, or maybe you cook real well. I feel like God calls people specifically for specific areas on this journey. All right. I do not believe that everyone who is called to stand are supposed to, like I said, be coaches or necessarily, work this area. Some people are supposed to work in the church. I worked in a church in the beginning. That was my area, and I thought I was called to the church for many, many years. Over 13 years I worked in the church, and I struggled with that, because I'm like, God, why? I feel like I was never getting promoted, basically. Not that it was about that, but it was like, I feel like I was not being truly fulfilling my purpose, or fulfilling what I was supposed to do. And I thought, if you can't fulfill your purpose, or what you're supposed to do in church, then something is wrong. And I did that for a long, long time. And it was like, God told me, I didn't call you to the church, So just because you're called, or just because, God has called you to this stand, doesn't necessarily mean that you are called for ministry or called for marriage. He uses us in many, many ways. But I do believe the wives who are called to this stand, God is using to teach them something, because he wants to use them for something. He wants to use you for something. Whatever that something is, he definitely wants to use you for that. When God comes knocking at your door, and he allowed the enemy to come in to have his way. Let's go back to the story of Job. When he allowed the enemy to come in and have his way, he's doing this for a reason. It's not, a lot of wives are looking at, my marriage. Oh, why I hear somebody say, why would the Lord allow this to happen to me? Or why would the Lord, allow this to go to me? And as hard as it is, and I don't ever try to, disvalue anyone's emotions or feelings. As hard as it is, you have to understand it is for a reason. And most of the time, a lot of the times, it is because someone in that house have purpose. Someone in that house God has called to a specific assignment, and he needs to get your attention. Okay, he uses your marriage to get your attention, but it's because someone in there has purpose. Someone in there has a call on their life, and God is trying to get their attention. All right. This man is making me nervous. I don't want him listening to me. All right. So one day, during my late nights, I woke up in the middle of the night, and God kept on showing me, which was really strange, T.I. I kept on seeing T.I. in his white face, and I'm like, okay. First of all. Yes, I'm in Atlanta, and I even like some of T.I. music. I like some of the music. I can't listen to all of it, but I hadn't listened to his music in a while, and I do follow him on social media, but I hadn't really paid attention to him. I seen him one time, I think, doing something with the kids at church or something, and I stopped and looked at that, but he's not somebody I really look at like that, or even his wife or whatever. But I remember in this, it was like a vision, and I see his wife's face, and her face was like all like messed up or something. It was like disfigured, and I was like, why? And it kept on the vision kept on standing out to me. Good morning. The vision kept on standing out to me. So I was like, Lord, why do I have these people on my mind, and in the middle of the night like this? Why I keep seeing their faces? But I learned that when that happens, that you are supposed to pray for them or whatever. God will use anyone to pray. He'll use anyone. And so of course I did pray. Hello. And then yesterday on social media, I seen T.I. get on there and talk about his son. I'm not a news person. I don't really watch the news. If I don't catch it on social media, I don't know what's going on. And so I see him get on because, and the reason I watched it is because I had that vision of him. And so I went on there and heard that he was talking about about his son or whatever. And I was just listening, like, oh my goodness, and I'm like, well, little old me way over here, that's a whole important man way over there. But it doesn't matter, it's whoever, whichever, God can reach, that's who he's going to reach. All right. Whoever is up and on the throne praying, God going to use you, and so he called me out, to pray for them and whatever. And then when I heard that story, I was like, okay, cool. So I said that to say, my marriage stand didn't only teach me how to pray for my husband and family, but it also taught me how to intercede. It taught me how to tap into the supernatural in ways that I would never have learned to do in a regular church service. Like a lot of the stuff that I've learned on my journey, I didn't get this in church, and I've been in church all my life. And I worked in the ministry, for over 13 years. And some of the stuff that I've learned on my journey and just with my personal time with the Lord, I didn't get this. I didn't get that. My stand also taught me how to, love difficult people and, how to give more grace and how to, overlook a suffered wrong and how to communicate with hurting people, and how to set, healthy boundaries for myself. That was a big issue for me. Not only in my marriage, but just, in life. I was kind of like, I won't say a pushover. That don't sound right. Like a pushover. I don't say I was a pushover, but I went along with some things, just kind of like just to go along with some things. But I've been on being on this on my stand. Taught me how to stand up for myself. I learned a lot of things that I don't think people learn in any other place in their life or whatever. And so that's one of the reasons why I think when coaches come on and talk about their curriculum, it's not just like we just talking to you about certain things. There's other lessons that we are able to teach wise that you don't get nowhere else. You don't get this in a Sunday service. All right. So for wives who are living in a home with their prodigal or unrepentant husband, today I come to encourage you. All right. Today I want to come and encourage you. You have to believe more of what the Lord tells you, wife, rather than what you see or hear him doing. And this is why I think Miss Nicole sometimes share this as well on her platform about, for the wives who are not in the home with their husbands, they have an advantage. Because there is a whole nother set of things that take place, once he do come home. Like I said, for me, it was better for me when he was on the outside, and then versus when he came back home, because there was still a lot of things that, came back with him that we still had to, go through or whatever. And so I tell wives all the time, take advantage of that time that, your husband is not home, and make sure that you get everything you need in place. All right. Let's see. I remember hearing, now this one right here, this is why I don't want him to hear me. You telling all my business. No. But I remember hearing my husband, on the phone talking to the other woman, and I mean in detail. All right. And then coming out the room and, fixing stuff in the house, cooking, and, whatever. But I mean, I heard him in detail sharing some things. And it's like, you have a choice. And I'm not going to say I always pass. I'm just being 100% honest. But you do have a choice. Do you confront him about what you overheard him say? Or do you go back to your secret place with God? You have to choose at that time, okay? Do you ask him, what was going on? What was that? I mean, in the beginning, I used to interrupt it. Like, you done tried it. You really done tried it. But I started to learn the more and more I did those types of things. It didn't stop him from doing what he was doing, but it did keep me in a stuck place. It did keep me tormented. It did keep my anxiety high. It did keep me, constantly jumping up and looking and, trying to hear, is he talking to somebody now? Is he doing something now? It did keep me kind of like up and down and on a roller coaster ride. It kept me all messed up. He was fine. He was fine, and so you have to make a choice. You have to decide, what you're going to do. Naturally, that's hard to do. Okay, that's why I say I'm not trying to, not validate your emotions. That's hard. All right. And that's not a place that you get to overnight. That's not something that happens overnight. I think that's something that you have to make a decision about. You have to make a decision, and you have to know what God has said to you specifically about your stand, about your, about your situation, about the promises that He has given you. Because if you focus off of, you have to understand. Let me just say this first before I go on. When God gives you a promise, it's gonna feel like, baby, peace in the valley. Okay, it's gonna rain on you. You gonna be like, ooh, I got it, right? You have to understand, as soon as you get that, the enemy is right there to snatch it. All right, and from that point on, from that time, his job is to come and snatch and take away those promises. His job is to come and derail your faith, so that the things that God has told you, you don't see these things ever come to pass. And sometimes, some wives, that happens to them. They do not see these things come to pass. All right. And so you have to understand, when He gives you a promise, the enemy is coming right after him to derail it. All right. Sometimes God would tell, God would tell me, to ask Him about it. Sometimes He didn't, and I still ask Him, but sometimes He would tell me, but it wouldn't be like in the middle of it. It was always like during a time like when things was okay. And that's why I used to always get confused, because I'm like, I'm good today, Jesus. I don't really need to mess up a happy home day. Like, we good. We done had a good day. We've been talking. We've been laughing. Why would you want me to ask Him that right now? Like, why would you want me to interrupt a good day? We good, why you didn't tell me to ask Him on the day that it happened? You didn't tell me to do that. And so He would always, He would give me moments that, to ask Him. Okay. And other times God told me He got it. He told me He got it. Those were the challenging times. When He told me that He got it, because those were the times when I wanted to say something, and sometimes I did say something. I missed it. But when I did what He told me to do, oh my God, man, the reward is beautiful. Okay. It was beautiful. I mean, he handled it in ways that I could never even imagine. It's why, but that was something that I had to learn. That didn't happen overnight. All right. It doesn't take away that what He's doing is wrong, but there are ways of handling wrong things. Okay. There is a way. And that's a strategy. That's something that people have to learn, because our ego, our pride, our self-worth, it's like, no, like, I'm not going to let you just do that to me. I'm not going to let you do that to me. And if you don't have an understanding of, exactly what's going on and what God is trying to do in you will miss it. You really will drop the ball. I grew up in a family where, we didn't play them kind of games. Okay. Good morning. Like, what? You doing what? Oh, this is done. We are over. It wasn't going down like that. And I feel like God had to strip all that from me and like really like rebuild me. And help me to think and see things different. And I'm like, I don't see nothing about that. But then there were times, but the part about the moments when He told me He got it, and don't say anything, He would tell me to listen, I want you to hear something. And I'd be like, what is it that you want me to hear? Like, there's nothing possible you want me to hear. And then He would start to show me how this man is sick, or this man is ill. Good morning. Or this man has a problem, or this man is, getting a drinking, or doing other things. This man is not well right now, and he needs somebody to be patient with him. He don't need you to just throw him out, into the woods, because the world is already doing that. But he actually needs somebody to walk with him and be patient with him. And like, you chose me for that job because I'm not really patient, Lord. He's like, exactly. You chose me for that job because my patience is very, very thin, honey. It is real, real thin. And so it was during those times though that I was the most grateful and appreciative, because it's like I heard him in a different way. All right. So you have to first understand, if God has you in the home with your prodigal husband, that means that he trusts you. One of the number one reasons why a lot of wives who are who their husbands is not out, who husbands are outside of the home and their husbands is not back yet, because God can't trust them yet. Because God can't trust them yet. God cannot trust them with that fragile situation, because that's a very fragile situation. You don't know what is taking place with that man when he goes on the outside. I'm telling you the stories I have heard. You don't know what's taking place, not just from wives. I'm talking about from my own experience, from my husband himself, the stories that I've heard. You don't know the things that they're going through and what they're dealing with. And so if you like quit tempering, you know, you one of them kind of people like, God, I can't bring him there, because you're gonna break him. You're going to break him, all right? You all, and he needs somebody to hold it steady. You know, he needs somebody to be stable. He needs somebody to just keep walking with God. Just keep holding on to God. But he can't get that if you all over the place, or you all in your emotions. Oh, it's about you. Oh, you know, people got to grow up on this. This journey grows people up. You're not going to be able to do it any other way. And I never thought of myself as being an immature person, but spiritually immature, very much so. You know, spiritually immature. I was very much so, and it wasn't until I started understanding the mind of God a little bit more, and how he sees his people. The blood of Jesus. I'm saying the blood of Jesus. Hello, good morning. I'm so used to saying that. That was crazy. It wasn't until I started to understand the mind of God a little bit more that I had a full understanding of what he really was doing and what he was trying to do and trying to really teach me. This is not an overnight type of thing. So that's why when people say I just give me what you got, so I can get my husband back. It's like, that ain't how this work. That ain't how this work. This is a journey. One of the reasons why with my ladies at Her Buoyancy Boost, why I encourage them to do their 1 year, you like to walk with me for 1 year, because a lot of different things come up between that time. Usually somewhere on the path, when I talk to the ladies in Her Buoyancy Boost, I always tell wives, I'm like confirmation. Like, when you sign up with me, you're going to probably end up hearing from your spouse. You're going to probably end up having some type of dream. God is going to show you something about you. Something is going to happen where you're going to hear from know about your spouse or something. You probably haven't talked to him in years, but somehow, which is why I call it a divine assignment. This is not just a natural thing. I don't believe it's just a natural thing. But somewhere on this journey, before the curriculum's over, these wives normally hear from their husbands, and they have more of an understanding of what they're supposed to be doing. And so I say that to say, it's not an overnight thing. It takes time. But the reason why I have the wives to check in monthly is to, just to make sure that they're still in that healthy place. Make sure they're in a good place. Make sure that they're still level-headed. Make sure they're still doing their daily routines. Make sure they're still self-caring for themselves. They're doing their regimens. They're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, because any moment, anything can happen. Anything can shift. And you get caught on the wrong day, baby. You don't know how to bounce back. You are out there, and that's like starting all over again. A lot of times, they do the curriculum and they stop. They don't do the whole year. And the curriculum also is an open door for you to have as many sessions as you need, because once he come home, it's one thing when he's not home. Okay, that's one thing. But once he come home, you need somebody with you. You need to be walking with somebody, because if that person is not in a place of repentance and they still dealing with some things and they still got some worldly things going on, baby, let me tell you something. You are in for a world of trouble. Okay, you are in for a world of trouble. So I say all that to say, the reason why a lot of husbands have not come back home to their wives is because the Lord cannot trust that wife with that husband. Okay, God has to trust that you will handle that fragile situation with care. So you say, well, Coach C, how do you do that? Like, how do you handle something like that? How do you handle a cheating, manipulative, unavailable, addicted to the streets, substance abuse, double-minded, living a double life type of husband with care? Like, how do you do that? Like, that don't even make sense. Who does that, And most people don't. Y'all, most people don't. This type of husband is the one who they ship them right on out. This is the one that type of person, the type of husband that people like, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody gonna do that. Life is too short. I'm not gonna be, doing that. A lot of people don't do that. All right. So 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxiety or concerns on him. On who? On the Lord. Cast all of it on him because he cares for you. All right. You handle this by casting it. You handle it by casting it. To cast something means to throw it down forcefully. All right. We were not built to carry that type of frustration. We do not have to accept it as our own, because this type of behavior, this type of condition that you're in with a person like that, we weren't supposed to be carrying that anyways. That's not what God has called us to. So because he has not called us to that, but he's telling us to stand in it, that means we have to give it to him. We have to give it to him. All right. Miss Nicole, she has a webinar out that says when you make a decision to stand, you have to recognize that you are volunteering. You're not the victim. Too many wives are being the victim versus volunteering. You have to know your position on this. You have to know that you have a choice. And because you made a choice and made a decision to stand, you have to know that God and all of heaven is going to back you. You have to make the decision, regardless of what you see, regardless of what he's doing, regardless of what's taking place. All right? You're not the victim, regardless of who is coming in, who he's talking to, who he may go be hanging out. Oh, Jesus, I'm telling you, the stuff I would hear, I'd be like, what in the what? You have to know, like, no, surely the Lord don't want me to deal with that. Like, this ain't no way God want me to deal with this. Like, really, Lord, really, and you have to know if that's even something that the Lord wants you to listen. Because half the time I was listening, I wasn't supposed to be listening. But it was sometimes when the Lord would tell me, listen. He would tell me to go and listen, or he would, send me over there, So you have to know. You just have to know. Okay, we can practice casting our anxieties on the Lord by stepping away from attempts to control our worries and leaning into the reassuring words of God. Once we do this, we can see that anxiety is not a thing on which we should focus. Okay, we have no business carrying that type of frustration, that type of agony, that kind of anxiety. You're not supposed to be carrying that. All right. And so because you're not supposed to be carrying it, you have to cast it. Instead, we are called to give it up to God. What your husband does is not in your control. What he does is not in your control, wife. Okay. You have only one job to do. And that job is to follow the instructions of the Lord. I cannot emphasize that enough. You have one job. Follow the instructions of the Lord. When wives ask me about my sin and how I did it, I tell them all the time, because I listen to the instructions of the Lord. I built my faith and I learned his decrees. My relationship with him became solid. Okay? My relationship with him became solid. Good morning. Because there's no other way you can handle this type of stand. I'm just telling you, it's just not going to happen. All right? It's not going to happen. All right? And so I'm totally convinced when you're married to this type of person, unrepentant husband, you need to be hearing from God. If you are not hearing from God, you might want to check and see if there's something that you're supposed to be doing. You might want to make sure that you get with somebody who can show you and teach you on how to do this. Because if you are, especially on the inside, it's one thing for him to be on the outside, but if he is there in the inside with you, you need to know, like, God, is this you or is this me? Are you calling me to this, or is it something just I want? You need to make sure that you're hearing from him, because this type of husband is not one that many stay with. This is, like I said, the Bible itself tells you have biblical reasons to get rid of this, to not deal with that. The Bible tells you can get rid of it. Okay. God's perfect will for marriage is for a husband and wife to stay together for, death do they part. That's his perfect will. Even, and I think I just heard this recently on a page, he said, even the law of Moses that gives, spouses permission to divorce, if adultery or anything have taken place, that's his permissible will, but that's still not his perfect will for your life. So God is saying, yes, I give you this as an option to exit if this have taken place, but that still doesn't mean that's my perfect will for you. And so because that's not his perfect will, the question I didn't ask God, I asked wives is, why are you not trying to pursue his perfect will? You need to try to see what his perfect will is for your life and pursue what his perfect will is for you, So it's important. It's so important for wives to be aware of the voice of God, to be aware of how God is speaking to them specifically. Many times, wife or marriage coaches share their experiences and what happened on their journey. Okay, some coaches, their area was very pray. Some coaches are like they did a lot of decreeing and declaring and decreeing. Some marriage coaches did a lot of fasting, like fasting work for them. Prayer, humbling themselves, change of attitudes or their ways, warfare. A lot, I hear some coaches talk about the warfare, faith and resisting. Everybody have like their one thing that has stood out, really worked for them. All right, and then sometimes we all experience all of these things, but there is still that one area, that one thing that worked consistently, and have given that wife, results. For me, it was prioritizing my time and hearing from God and resisting the devil. It was all three of those. Prioritizing myself, getting into that secret place with the Lord, hearing from the Lord, and resisting the devil. Because the one thing that he did regularly was come for me. He came for me. He came for the promises. And baby, okay, you better know. Okay? Too many unhealthy marriages have no one hearing from God. No one is communicating with God. No one is interceding. No one is in position. No one is praying. No one is lifting up. No one is resisting. No one is turning the other cheek. No one is being humble. It's not. This is why there's so many homes broken. This is why there are so many divorces happen. This is why so much of that is taking place. All right, you need to know when to pray. You need to know when to be still. You need to know when to speak up. You need to know when to be quiet. You need to know when to connect with another person's faith. You need to know when to turn off outside influencers or outside noises. You need to know when you should be studying and meditating on scriptures. You need to know when to go in warfare. You need to know when it's time to cover him and walk through your house and cover your home and anoint your home with oil. You need to know when it's time to pray in the spirit and when it's time to decree and declare and use and then when it's time to use natural words to pray. Okay? You need to know when it's time for praise and worship using music and when it's time for praise and worship in the spirit. All right. You need to know when God wants you to know a thing and when it's not time yet. You need to know the seasons and timing of God. I want to emphasize that part. I want to highlight that part. You need to know the seasons and the timing of God. You need to know God and be in full relationship with him. You need to know these things, and you are not going to know these things if you are not spending that time with the Lord, or if you don't even know the strategy on how to get to this place. Okay? My stand, my journey, I was on the divine instructions from the Lord. I was on the divine instructions. So when I come on here and I talk about my assignment, that was my assignment. Because the natural me would not have said yes to this. The natural me would have been like, no, sir. No, sir. No, sir, buddy. No, sir. Okay? I would not have stayed any other way. I would not have. All right? The things I experienced inside of the home with my prodigal husband was unreal. It was unreal. It was unfair. It was unjust. It was just not good. Okay, and I know the only reason I was able to endure that journey was because of the divine assignment God gave me to stand. Okay, because of the divine assignment God gave me to stand. All right. How was I able to stay and stand after everything I saw and experienced? Because of the relationship I had with God, my understanding of the kingdom. The relationship I had with God, and me having a clear understanding of the kingdom, me having a clear understanding, good morning, of what the enemy is doing, me having a clear understanding of marriage, me having a clear understanding of the promises of marriage, me having a clear understanding of what God says about marriage and his heart on marriage, me having a clear understanding of what the enemy is trying to do to families, me having a clear understanding on is somebody ringing the doorbell? Jesus, why? See, y'all, because they trying to make this man come downstairs. Let me see. Oh, Lord. He done order some pizza. Y'all, I'm so sorry. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I need to sign something?
$5.29 is your total.
How much is it?
$5.29. The delivery fee.
Oh, $5. Okay, he didn't. Okay. Let me. See how we do? See, this is what's happening on the live. Jesus. Do he want me to pay for it? Don't y'all. Eve. Oh.
Do you have, like, because you can see I have to pay.
Do I have what? She said it was only $5.29.
Is it how much?
$5.29.
Oh, okay, so give me the extra.
Okay. That's yours. He gave it to you. Yeah, he gave it to you. Yes. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Enjoy. Be blessed.
Yes, ma'am. You too. Thank you. See, this is what happened. I'm so sorry, y'all. This is what happened when this man is home. Got pizza. I will be right back with y'all to finish my live stream. I'm out of breath. See, this is why. Okay. I done messed my life all the way up. Jesus. I need my breath. Okay. Y'all, I'm sorry. I had to go answer the door for the pizza people. My husband ordered pizza. Let me find my place and catch my breath. Okay. All right. I don't even know where to start at now. All right. So, like I was saying, I think he can hear me. Let me make sure. See, this is what I'm trying to tell y'all. Y'all, for the ones, okay, I'm trying to tell you. No, I thank God for my husband being home. He don't usually have weekends off. He usually have to work. And when he's home, he does try to cater to his family, so I appreciate that. But not doing my lives. not doing my lives. All right. Now let me find my place. Jesus, let me find my place. All right. Let's see. Okay. So I was sharing. Good morning. I was sharing that the reason I was able to stand and stay after everything I had saw and experienced was because of the relationship I had with God and my understanding of the kingdom. Like I said, I understood the kingdom. I understood the what the enemy was doing. I understood. Listen, thank you. I understood what the enemy was doing. I understood, that not only did I have a calling on my life, but I understood also that my husband had a call on his life, and that the enemy was after him, and that the Lord wanted me to stand in the gap for him. So I understood those things, and it's not something that just happened, like I said, overnight. It took some time for me to get to that place. I knew my stand was not only about, y'all, I'm so sorry. I knew that my stand was not only about my husband, but my stand was about the calling on my life, okay? But I had a call on my life, and he also had one on his as well. I had a responsibility. I had a responsibility to future generations in my bloodline. And wives, you have to understand, you have a responsibility too. Even when the pizza man comes to the door. Pizza lady, Jesus. Today is my oldest son's birthday. My oldest son actually turns 20 today. He was a Labor Day baby. And I never forget when the Lord told me, he's going to be okay because of you. He's going to be okay because of you. All right? Children of believing parents are holy and set apart. And they're holy and set apart because of the relationship that parent has with God. Okay? Me as his mother, have been able to sanctify him, in that sense. Well, because I always share that my oldest son he's not part of the covenant. That was from a previous relationship. And so I used to be concerned about things like that, after learning stuff and, reading the word and things like that. So the Lord always tell me, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine because of you. My youngest son, who I talk to all the time, because he'd be like, he's on way here now, so he got to hear his mama's mouth all the time. But he still try to act a little shy and not talk as much, and I'm constantly reminding him of the words. I'm constantly speaking life over him and speaking, words over him each and every day, because he was the one that the Lord spoke to me and said, he's going to be my voice piece. His middle name is actually Elijah. That was before the Lord even told me he was going to be his voice piece, But I named him. I was trying to name him after his papa a little bit, but not using the same names. But the Lord told me later in life that he was going to be, my voice piece. And so it's important that I do speak certain, words over him and, and help him to know, I tell him all the time, you're the head and not the tail. You are above and not beneath, and so I speak these words on him, remind him that he's strong and courageous, because he sometimes, struggle with, that in sometimes, not when he on that game though, but in other areas. And so it's important for me to speak that. So wives, you are like you have a huge role in this. You play a huge role on this journey and for your family. If I wasn't in place to hear these things, then I will miss out. My children will miss out. My husband will miss out. Some of my family members and some people who's connected to me miss out. Okay, if my attention is only on all the things that he is doing wrong, if it's only on those things, then I'm missing important instructions from God that he needs me to know or be aware about in the future. All right, I'm missing those instructions. And so it's important for wives to prioritize themselves. This is why you need to prioritize yourself. My prayer has always been, Lord, if it's something you want me to know, tell me, show me. Otherwise, block it, because when you're in this assignment, you carry such a heavy load of things. You have to know certain things that you have to, wind out, certain things you have to, eliminate, certain things you can't be around, certain things you can't just be in tune with, because you have too much of a responsibility here on the other side. All right. There are times and seasons when we need to be aware of certain things. And when you're standing for your family, you have to know the enemy wants to keep you distracted. He wants to keep you off track. He wants to keep you mentally and emotionally drained, physically unmotivated, and spiritually deceived. That is his plan. That is his goal. All right. He wants to keep you mentally and emotionally drained, physically unmotivated, and spiritually deceived. If he can repeat that cycle over and over and over and over again for a long period of time, he can tire you out. And that's what he's trying to do. Okay. He will tire you out. All right. And then that thing stays in your bloodline. It doesn't go nowhere. It'll keep those things that keep happening over and over again, and it doesn't go nowhere. All right. And so I said that to say that's what happened to the children of Egypt. I know we have been talking about, crossing over and going to the other side, and why, how so many wives are stuck. But this is, in a sense, what happened to, the children of Egypt. They walked that same mountain for many, many years. And because of their lack of growth and maturity, they never got to the promised land. They're complaining and grumbling, and their refusal and pretty much their own will kept them stuck. All right. God sent Moses. He sent Moses to go and set them free. All right. Moses was the best person for the job. Okay. He was the best person for the job. Moses was raised as an Egyptian and had a very comfortable life growing up, in Pharaoh's palace. His mom, after hiding him for the 3 months of his life, set him afloat on the Nile, river in a basket. And Moses was found by one of Pharaoh's daughters while bathing. Pharaoh's daughter then called Moses' mother to come and get him and take care of him. All right. Over the years, as Moses grew up, he noticed the negative treatment that was given to God's people. Because of the circumstances of his upbringing, Moses struggled a lot with his identity. He was a Hebrew, but brought up in the Egyptian world. Moses didn't quite fit in either one of those worlds, okay? He was his own person. He had been raised amongst judges and rulers, but sought to identify with his own people. He wanted to fulfill his purpose. I want you guys to hear that part. He wanted to fulfill his purpose, for which God had rescued him from the Nile. Instead of bringing the Egyptian who was beaten by the Hebrew before Pharaoh and seeking justice, Moses ended up killing him. And after being found out, he fled to the wilderness. All right. I shared it to say God used Moses to come for his people. Moses struggled with a lot of burials. He had insecurities. He had a problem talking. He had a lot of things that he was dealing with. He didn't know who he was. He struggled with a lot of things. And so, in doing so, he kind of ran away. He ran away. And during that time with him running away, God was able to, go for him and get him. And he then was able to be a deliverer for the children of Egypt. All right. But if wives don't get to a place where they are, coming to a place where they say, you know what? I know I got some things wrong with me. You know what? I know I'm struggling in some areas. You know what? I know I'm dealing with some type of insecurities. I know I got some kind of identity issue. I know I struggle with confidence. I know I lack in these areas, or I know I lack in these areas. If wives don't deal with that, they will run away. They will stay gone. And then God cannot use them for his glory. Okay? Thank God that Moses came back. Thank God that Moses was allowed God to get him to that place, for him to get to the place that he needed to be. All right? Wife, God has called you on this stunning journey, not to win your husband's love or his unhealthy behavior or his unhealthy choices. He called you for purpose. All right? He called you for purpose. And you have to trust that God is going to do what he promised you he would do concerning your husband. But in the meantime, you need to be doing everything you can to get out of Egypt. All right? You need to be doing everything you can to get out of Egypt. One of the hardest places to be in is living with a husband who has not surrendered their life over to Christ. That's one of the hardest things to deal with, to live with. All right? Who is a very worldly person who he just have not surrendered his life over to Christ. Okay? It's very hard to be in a home with that person. And naturally you want to cut them off. Okay, naturally you don't want to have to deal with that. The Bible even tells us, flee from these type of people, flee from this type of behavior. The Bible tells us to do these types of things. All right, but when God has given you specific instructions, and when God has specifically told you, nope, I want you to stand. Nope, I want you to be in that. Nope, I want you to stay in that marriage. You need to figure out what the lesson is and what is it he's trying to teach you. Has God called you to stand in the gap for your marriage, wife? Because if he has, you need to find out why. All right? You need to find out why. And so I wanted to share with you a few things before I let y'all go. I know this is kind of ran over a little bit longer. Sorry, y'all. But I wanted to share a few things with you for the wife who is living in the home with the unrepentant husband. so she can continue to stand in a healthy way. I want to share 3 points with you, and I'm going to let y'all go. All right. First, one of the most important things for the wife who is living inside the home with the unrepentant husband is she needs to make sure that she has done her work or is doing her work. She needs to make sure that she is healed or has healed. She needs to make sure that she has went through her grief process, that she has become whole, that she's not lacking in anything, that she know how to get to God, that she know how to prioritize herself and take care of herself. She needs to make sure that she has done Her Buoyancy Boost curriculum. Okay? This is what needs to happen. All right, that's first. Number 2, this wife needs to get awareness on her why. Lord, I have been working on myself. I've been getting better. I've been healing. I'm healthier. I'm in a better place. I'm in a better space. But this husband here of mine hasn't changed. This husband here of mine is doing the same thing. This husband here of mine is still having some things going on. Why? Is there something else that you need me to be aware of? Is there something else that you need me to work on? Is there something else that you need me to do? And you need to hear what God has to say. All right? That is the question that you need to go to God and ask. If you have done your work and you've been working on yourself, and then you notice that things are still in the same place, you need to go to God and ask him why. Why am I still in the same place? What else do I need to do? What else I need to work on? That type of thing. And the third thing, this is important. I think this is the most important. You need to trust the season that you are in. Trust the season that you're in. God keeps all of his promises, okay? However, there is a part sometimes that you may play in that promise. So you need to make sure that you're doing that part. And maybe that's something that he will reveal to you in point 2 with your why, okay? So I'm saying that to say, if he's already talked to you and revealed to you, then I say this: God keeps all of his promises, okay? He knows the desires of our hearts. He knows what and how long we can handle something. And he knows what it would take to mature us, grow us up in him. If you are a wife who has been believing God to change her husband's heart, his attitude, his spirit, and he hasn't yet, check the season you're in. Check the season you're in. God does things in seasons, okay? And sometimes the things that you are experiencing has nothing to do with your husband. It has nothing to do with, the things that he's doing in his, it has nothing to do with it. Even if he's still doing it, that's just him still doing that. The Lord going to deal with him on his time. The Lord will deal with him accordingly, okay? The Lord is simply waiting on the season to change, okay? Galatians 6:9 states, and let us not grow weary or doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. All right? In due season we will reap if we do not give up. Like I mentioned earlier, the goal of the enemy is to get you to give up. The goal of the enemy is to get you tired, okay? He wants you to keep your eyes on all of the things that your husband is doing wrong. He wants you to keep your eyes on everything that's taking place with him. He wants to keep you spiritually blinded, emotionally weak, quick-tempered, immature, impatient. All right? He wants to keep you in that place. All right? And he wants to keep you in that place so that you will not pursue this journey. And this is why I always tell my wives, if you're not prioritizing yourself, aka working on yourself, if you're not doing your work, if you're not doing your due diligence, if you're not doing your part, you are in a world of trouble. And please believe the enemy is coming for you, okay? Please believe that the enemy is coming for you. It is so important for wives, especially the ones who are inside the home with that husband, to prioritize himself, to seek God out, to consult with God, to make sure that they're hearing from him, to make sure there's nothing new, okay? Have something to do. Have a life, wife, outside of your husband. Give your gifts and talents to others who will appreciate it, okay? Get in alignment with the Lord and pursue the call God has for your life, okay? These are the things that you need to be doing, prioritizing when you are in the home and you're still doing those types of things. Have something else to do, okay? Work on yourself. Go find a hobby. Go find a friend, a mentor to. Go find somebody to pray with. Something else. You need to have something else to do. You need to have a life outside of him. You need to give your gifts and your talents to people that's going to appreciate your gifts and talents in during this time. You need to get in alignment with God. Stay in alignment with God and pursue the call that God has for your life, all right? You will look up one day and God been already took care of your situation with your marriage. You be like, oh, it's already done. You ain't even know it. You got them fixed and you don't even know it's fixed because you've been too busy doing other things, all right? The enemy wants to use your husband as a distraction once he's in the home. And then he wants to repeat that cycle. But you, wife, have to be aware of the enemy's schemes and tricks, all right? And so listen, that was a long one, y'all. I know. That was long. If you have not, I want to encourage you. If you are struggling in this area, if you feel like, I really need some help, or I really need to get some clarity, or I really need to get an understanding, I want to encourage you, wife, to sign up for your consultation, all right? Sign up for your consultation at www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. It is so very important for you to know and learn where you are on your journey, okay? I also want to encourage wives to make sure that they get in alignment with the right type of coach. Get with the coach that is going to be the most helpful for you. I know a lot of times, different wives listen to a lot of different, coaches, and that's fine. But make sure that you are getting in alignment with that coach who God is aligning you with in that time, in that season, to help you on your journey, okay? It's one thing to listen to people and get inspiration, but it's another thing to actually get aligned with someone specifically to help you on your journey specifically. All right, so I always tell wives, make sure that you pray about anything that you do, but especially when you're investing your money, especially when you are investing into some type of coaching curriculum, make sure that you pray so you know that this is what you're supposed to do. I had a few wives who told me that, and they did not sign up right away. But one wife, she said, she told me, she's like, I don't think I'm going to do it right now. I don't think I need anything or whatever. And then over the course of weeks, she had a dream, and the Lord gave her a dream. I'm not going to say what the dream was about, because then she didn't know who I'm talking about. But she had a dream, and when she seen those things, that was kind of like, she looked it up and seen, like, this is what that meant. And that's how she knew she was supposed to do that. I've had a few wives who have told me things like that. So I always encourage wives, maybe not now, maybe not next month, maybe not next week, maybe not, over the weekend, but definitely make sure that when you're on this journey, you get the help that you need, and pray about who God is calling you to, all right? And so, listen, happy Self-Care Saturday, wives. Happy Self-Care Saturday. I want to encourage you to make sure that you prioritize yourself. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Be blessed. Do something that you enjoy doing. Take some time out to reflect. Take some time out to really, hear from God. This is Labor Day weekend. Ask the Lord, please don't let my labor go in vain. Like, just don't let my labor go in vain. I think it's the Bible verse talk about that. A house built. I'm not gonna mess that up. I put it on here if I find it. But just pray and ask the Lord to not, let your labor go in vain, and ask Him to really speak to you and see what it is that you need to be doing on this journey. But if you feel like Him tugging at you, or you feel like, when you listen to some of Coach T's videos that He's speaking to you and He's telling you need to sign up, listen, don't overlook that. That's something. A lot of the wives that I coach, it's almost like things happen in order. It's like, this had to happen for this to happen. This had to happen for this to happen. It's like the moment they made a decision to sign, the moment they made a decision to do, the moment they made a decision to go, then things start to move. A lot of times people are on this journey longer than they're supposed to be because they are not moving. They're not doing anything. They just, I'm going to just trust God. Or they scared to take that leap. They're not, or sacrifice. And so sometimes you do have to do those types of things. It's almost like just being in church. You know how they tell you in church, make that sacrifice, that sacrificial giving. And then they tell you to give sacrificially. Sometimes wives have to do the same thing when it comes down to their well-being and taking care of themselves and making sure that they're doing and hearing from God clearly. All right. So sign up for your consultation, www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Y'all have an awesome Self-Care Saturday. I will see you guys soon. All right. Blessings.